Okay. Hi. What's up? It's Jelena with More Cake Yes Mom, Badass Out of Art. And tonight I'm going live so I can show you guys how I do calligraphy on a cake. We're going to start from the very basics just so you guys can get the gist of how you can basically do calligraphy on your own without having to be a pro at it. You definitely don't have to be a pro. You can be super amateuristic if you need to be. Hi, hello, hi everybody. Um, so we're gonna start, and we're gonna start with the old-fashioned way, pen and paper, and then move on to something a little more dramatic with some marker and paper, and then we'll move on to something which will be cake. Now we're gonna work on a dummy cake, and if we have time, I have a real cake that we're gonna work on that we can possibly put a design on. I don't have anything pre-written down because you guys know how I like to do my lives. Everything just comes to me in the moment because if I planned it out, it won't be as perfect as I want it to be. If you guys saw it last night live, you guys saw how much a disaster it was. Yay! But the cake came out really good, really nice. There's definitely some things I would have changed, but overall, it was so good and so delicious. I ate a giant piece of it. If you guys want to check that out, make sure you check that out after this live. It's a two-parter because the first half, 20 minutes into it, it cut off. So you guys can definitely check that out. I made a beautiful, what I'm calling a deconstructed chocolate dipped strawberry. I think that's what I called it. So yeah, that's on this channel also, and I went live last night with the Fake It With Me. And tonight we're going to do a, a live, hello, good evening, hello all, hello, how are you doing? And it's going to be a little more relaxed. So, just a little background history so that way you guys understand what I'm I can do. So that way, if you're new, I don't know. Let me introduce myself to you. Um, I have a bachelor's of fine arts. Um, I was a major, a bachelor's of, and I have a bachelor's of fine arts in design school. So I have in graphic design and photography. So my background is in art in general, and everything I learned, I like to kind of continue that in my cake designs. So I decided one day I wanted to do art, and so happened I do art on cake. That's it. That's why I don't like to call myself a baker. That's why you guys hear me say that all the time. If you're looking for a baker, I'm not the one. I'm a cake artist. I can teach you guys how to make a cake into a dragon, but and I can make it taste delicious. But if you're looking for that cutesy tootsie person, that's just definitely not me. So let me tell you guys some things that I have handy here. I'm definitely gonna have to lose this jacket. It's hot in here now. I have just a little sketchbook, nothing fancy, and then I just have some loose leaf printer paper, and then I have my markers that I use on a daily, and these are Tomboy markers. You guys can get these at Michael's Arts and Craft. They come individually, and I'm sure on Amazon they come like in packs and stuff like that. And then I also have, deja vu. Deja vu twice. Weird. I also have these markers, these Prismacolor black, well not like it's a marker base, but they're a fine point. Not this one. This one is. They're fine point, so you can see that. They're like these felt fine point markers that I like to use for outline. And then I have a pencil and a sharpener in here. So those are some things we're going to use. And then also when we move on to the actual edible art of this, so that way you guys can see this can be done on a cake, on fondant, with paint, edible paint that is. I'm using just, Edible Arts cake paint. I have just a bunch of different colors here. So I'll be using that and all of my different paintbrushes I have. I do this just to have options, but in reality, I'm going to use just this one. Specifically this one because it's my favorite. And I on cake, I like to start with a thin paintbrush. All right. So, a glitch in the matrix. What does that mean, Kenrick? What do you mean glitch in the matrix? Did I miss something? All right, I'm gonna pull you guys down so you guys could see my table of, and I think we're gonna go with something like, the holidays is coming up, so, and this, I keep thinking of Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. from from what's that movie? Home Alone. I keep thinking of that over and over again. So I think I'm going to use that. So I think that's going to be our basis. So I'm going to pull you guys down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, deja vu. Yeah, glitch. Yeah, there's double glitch in the matrix. I saw it twice. All right, let me fix this. It's gonna be a little hard. You guys are gonna see me writing upside down. Pull you guys forward. And make sure you guys are getting a nice view. It's kind of hard because I don't see the screen. I have to keep looking at my iPad. Alrighty. Let's get this bad boy together. So, I'm going to show you a little bit of an easy way how you can kind of fake calligraphy your own words and make something really simple, and then we're going to turn it into more complex because there's different layers to calligraphy. So let's just start with let's just do my name, right? So we'll do Jelena, which is Jalena. Okay, something simple right now. And now calligraphy, it's always obviously cursive, and I learned cursive when I was going to grade school. I don't know about all of you, but that was a mandatory requirement. So just to write Jelena in a simple cursive, just something really simple, right? Kind of looks simple and childish. Now, the thing about calligraphy is there's weight to it to make it look like it was the original, they write with the calligraphy pens. There's weight on it. And when I mean weight, I mean there's parts of the letters that look thicker and there's parts of the letters that look thinner. So say I just wrote this by hand, something really simple, just like how I did here. Let me find a marker. So it's always easier to first go ahead and just write it with pencil and write it lighter than what I did. I definitely wrote this a little too dark. Looking for, okay, yeah, I got it. So I am using Prismacolor Premier marker, the number 8, and it matters. The number matters because it depends on how thick this is. So I like the number 8. So I'm just gonna go ahead and trace over this. And this is a really easy way to do calligraphy without knowing how to do calligraphy. Kind of faking the funk, if I might say. All right, so now I've traced over it, really simple. Now, weight is, the weight on these letters, it gets heavy going down and lighter going up, okay? For example, I'm gonna do a stroke here. If I go down, it needs to be heavy. If I go up, it needs to be light, okay? You can kind of see the difference in the weight here. So heavy going down, and this is what it should look like, right? Heavy and light going up. So every stroke going down is heavy, you push harder on it, and then light going up. Probably easier to see this if I used an actual calligraphy marker. That's why I like the Tomboy markers. They are used for just this purpose. So heavy going down, light going up, right? Heavy going down, light going up. Oh, let me close it off for the J, okay? So the same thing with my name, Jelena. I'm gonna go heavy going down, light going up. So heavy going down, light going up. For the A, heavy going down, light going up, and because in that back part you go heavy going down and then light going up, right? Now, the trick that you can use if you're not good at doing heavy going down, like when, you know, sometimes that can be a little hard, especially if you're not trained, because you want to keep the practice, keep practicing and keep practicing and keep practicing. So what I do is I just, a lot of the times, fake it. So I'll just draw the thickness on my letters, okay? So the L right here, going up it would be light, and then coming back down would be heavy. So I'll just draw the thickness to kind of help a sister out. You see what I'm saying? So I'm gonna draw my thicknesses. Same thing with the E, the N, and the other A. See? So you're just drawing your thicknesses here. So that makes it look a little more unique, stands out a little bit more, looks a little more fancy, right? But the thing is, what we're going to be doing to move this along a little more quicker, like I said, I'm showing you guys an easy DIY way of how to do calligraphy, kind of faking the funk so that way you can carry it on in your cakes. As bakers, sometimes we just want to be bakers and maybe not drawing things or some sort of other type of artist. We just want to be a baking artist. Well, in this case, I'm going to show you guys how you can do both and kind of showcase your artwork without having to actually be great at calligraphy. So now that we've written Jelena and now you guys have seen the weights of letters, okay? Now let's change it up and put it in a different handwriting where it's not just this simple handwriting, okay? So let's do something like, let's do Jelena again, but this way I'm going to actually elongate a lot of my drops. So now you can write your font any way you want. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be any way you want. I want this to match the other A. That's for sure. So I like to write it where I drop my in-betweens. Not really sure the technical name of what it would be called. So I'm making up my own. So the in-between. So in between each letter, I like to drop low. And then if you notice, when you learn cursive in school, they tell you not to pick up your pencil. You have to keep on the paper. Well, what makes it easier is if you do each individual letter and make sure you're just connecting them. So I write one letter, I stop, I write the other letter, I stop, and in between my stops, I'm picking up my pencil. So now that I've written Jelena in my own handwriting, I can go back with whatever marker. I'm just going to trace over this to make it darker. See, I stop, I pick it up. Right? So I do that, real simple, looks really fancy, and now I'm going to go back and draw the weights. So again, every part that I would have gone down on, I'm making weight. And if you want, you could do this part in pencil too, so you don't mess up. Okay, so now I've drawn my weights, and now I'm just going to color them in. See, so in my own handwriting, that basically doesn't make sense on any other level. I can make it look as fancy as I want it to be. I'm really coloring this in kind of sloppy just to kind of rush it. Okay. You guys see? So, okay, so now moving on, what we're going to do is we're actually going to write what I keep thinking about is Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. So I'm going to write that out. And now we're going to talk about placement of your letters. I know this isn't as like exciting as baking a cake or anything like that, but I promise you at the end it's going to come out looking really pretty. All right, so Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. So you want to think about the placement of your letters, especially when you're doing several words. So say, for example, you're doing a wedding cake. This would be fine, simple. It's just one word or an initials or just one name. Very simple, easy layout. You don't really have to think about it. Maybe you would do it more of an arc or going down or an arc going up, or maybe in an angle, but it's one simple word. Now, when you have several words, you want to think about their placement because you want it to kind of all flow together and intertwine together, right? So I'm going to move on to a loose leaf paper, and hopefully we can get this on one good try. All right, so Merry Christmas, yeah. Yeah, I think I want to put yeah. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, not you filthy animal. Yeah, so it's going to be A. Okay. Good question. I'm thinking in my head. Question in my head. The way I wrote it here, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Do I want Merry and Christmas next to each other? Because that's going to be really long. Or should I put Merry up here, Christmas, you filthy, and then animal at the bottom? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So it's always easier to first write out how you want the layout, maybe even practice with it on a separate piece of paper before you even get to like a finishing product. But we're going to wing it on here. Now, you don't want to just write Christmas over it. Again, it's okay to intertwine with the rest of the letters. So like the Y, how I've dropped my M. I hope you guys can see this light handwriting. I know it's kind of light for the screen. All right, so I'm just going to wing it. Here I go. I'm going to have to fix this T. I mean this Y. Because I want it to intertwine with the rest of the letters. Yeah. Merry Christmas. Yeah. Filthy. Is it L? I-L-T. Of course, I had to pick like the longest saying any, all, like, Lord have mercy, all these letters. I know it looks like nothing now. That's only because it's all in pencil. Okay. I probably would change just a few things on here, but let's see what this looks like if I darken it up. I'm just following along what I wrote. Filthy, filthy, Phil. Hold on. Make sure I'm pronouncing this word, writing this word right. Filthy, right? Yes, F-I-L. Yeah, spelling's important, people. And then animal. I'm gonna move my A. Change up my M to go up more. All right, cool. So now let's just drop our weights on it. Use a marker so it'll be a little more easier. All the parts where I would write going down. Okay, and then and I think this is exactly what I'm going to do on the cake. So it helps to practice. Oh, wish I would have changed up that M, but that's okay. This is just so you guys can see the final product of what's actually going to be on the cake that we're going to do live. If writing on a cake could be this easy. And they do have edible markers, but because fondant is so soft, it pierces through your fondant. So that kind of sucks. So that's why I like using the edible paint and just a thin paintbrush to help me out. Okay. Obviously, I would do this a little more nicer and clean it up, but you guys get the gist of it. And then the last thing about calligraphy is it's decorative. I'm just erasing all the pencil marks. It's a decorative handwriting, and adding maybe some decorative flow to it could help. Which that takes time, that takes patience. Oh, Jesus, almost dropped that. So yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. Because if I was to do this, if I had like a little more time, I would add maybe like a little more like flair to it. Kind of bringing it all together. You know, something decorative in that effect sort of all kind of flows together, all comes together and kind of makes like this kind of a wreath around it or something like that. So this is what we're going to do on the cake. And now let's pull the cake out. Alrighty. So let me go get the cake. It's actually going to be real cake. Yeah, no, we're going to use the dummy cake. Yeah, let's use the dummy cake, and first let's see how that goes. Because on the real cake, I actually really have to take pictures of it, and I don't want to have to rush through it like I'm rushing now. So we're going to use a dummy. This is just a dummy styrofoam cake covered in fondant. And what I'm going to actually grab is a palette. If I can find it. Grab a palette and grab some color to go on this palette. I had a really pretty blue. Okay, we're going to shake this up a little bit. We're going to use this blue, which I think is so gorgeous. It's called Sailor Blue. Uh-oh, I think this is already coming out. Perfect. Okay. All right, and I got my paintbrush. Now, a little trick to doing calligraphy on a cake, which now I'm going to pull you guys up so that way you can kind of see the whole table. Looks good. Thank you. You're a Southern homegirl. Oh, I like that name. Push you guys back a little bit. Let's see what you guys can see. I want to make sure you guys get a good view of the table so that way I don't have to keep adjusting anything. Okay. So here is a dummy cake that we're going to use. It's just covered in some fondant. And the way you cover a dummy cake is just using some shortening. Don't use water. Use some shortening and just put it on your dummy cake, and then you can cover it in a normal way that you cover your own cakes. I panel mine, so this is like a botched panel job because I did it really quickly. So if I want to do something like this, which obviously it's just a tad too big for the actual cake, so I'm going to have to bring it down. So I think what I'll do is I'll just do Merry Christmas for this cake, and on the other cake that I'm doing, I'll do this actual full saying. What helps is to have like a template of some sort. So we're actually going to use this as a template. Where are my scissors? Let's grab scissors. Okay. And I'm going to cut this out. Right? And we're just going to do Merry Christmas. Have Merry Christmas on here. So let's cut the bottom off. As much as it's going to kill me, I'm going to have to rewrite this whole thing when I do the other cake. Right? And you can either tape it on your cake or pin it on your cake. I'm going to grab some pins just so this can stay, and then I can kind of trace over it a little bit. So let me grab some pins now. All right, got my pins. Gonna pin this on. It's easier if you do pins. It's really soft. It's a tiny little hole. You can always take it away. And yes, I would do this to a real cake, for all those asking. So I would just pin it in. And of course, you want your cake to be nice and chilled. And if you have to do this in steps, do it in steps. Meaning, you know, pin it, trace it, chill it again, and then begin to actually paint over it. So what I would do for my cake is I would trace over my letters just so I can get a good synopsis of where all my lettering is supposed to be. So just kind of tracing over it with the back of my paintbrush. And what I'm doing is I'm actually tracing over some of the bigger letters because the little ones I can fill in myself. But it may help for you to fill in with, obviously, tracing all the letters to help you out better. So I'm just tracing over just to make this like small little indent. And my fondant is nice and soft right now. And if it's a real cake, your fondant, you know, no matter how much chilled it is, you'll always be able to make an indent with it. Yeah. So that's one way. So I don't know if it shows on the camera. Wait for it. Yeah, you can kind of see some dents in it. You can see that. Hopefully you guys can see those indentions in the actual cake. So you can do that. Trace over your letters and make it really easy for you to see the thickness of where you're supposed to be writing. And then you can go back with your paintbrush and write over it, right? So that's one way you can actually do it. Another way is by getting yourself a drawing pencil. And I say a drawing pencil because these write really light and really soft. And you're not going to give anybody lead poisoning. It's okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to write very lightly on our fondant. Very lightly, okay? Just so we can see the lines. We don't want to make any thicknesses or anything like that. So this is a second way that you could possibly do. Oh, look at you, Nick Duke paying somebody. Okay, girl, thanks for my $2. I appreciate you. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know on lives on YouTube, you can send money just to show a sign of support. So I appreciate you, bestie. You guys check out our podcast. It's called Not Your Mama. It's at my On my website, you guys can find it. It's me and my best friend talking so much crap, but you'll like it. We're kind of funny, and we're fun people, so you may enjoy it. So the second thing we're gonna do a very light drawing in pencil. And I know this may be shocking to some of you cake decorators out there, but don't worry. This isn't going to kill your customer, and you're not doing anything that's going to ruin the integrity or taste of your cake. This is a light sketch drawing, so that way you can find the points of interest of when you're writing your words. All right, and I'm trying to actually do this up and down. Because it's a dummy cake, I would normally just go like this and make it easier for myself. But because it's we're trying to pretend like it's a real cake for you, we're going to have this standing up and down, so you guys can see that this actually can be done. Because I know it's kind of hard to do this like this. So let's see if I can move my hand so that way you guys can see what I'm doing. Let's see. All right, so I'm just going to write very lightly. I don't know if you guys can see that light handwriting here. It's literally, that's how light it is. If you're doing like a chalkboard cake, which I do have that tutorial here on my channel, I'm actually not using a pencil at all. I show you guys a way that you can do it on a chalkboard cake where it makes it really super simple. It's so much more easier, especially when it's a colorful cake, because you can see your lines better without having to use a pencil. Kind of hard to write like this, but I gotta do it for YouTube. Okay. I'm gonna write the C. Move it on to the H. I, S. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I can't, because I can't see anything that I'm doing. Let's pause it so that way you can see how far I've gotten. I've gotten to Merry Chris, and now I have to put the TMAS, and then we can write it in actual. And you can, again, you don't have to use pencil if you're not comfortable with using pencil. Again, you're not going to do anything harmful to your customer. You can use your edible markers. They have them in different colors. You can grab yourself like a black one, and you can make these little light marks also. The only problem is when you do it with marker, it's not definite because you can take it out with some Everclear as an eraser. I use Everclear as an eraser. But it could make a little bit more of a mess. So just making these light marks on your cake could help. We're at the T. A. Oh, tiny, that's a tiny A. A. And now we're at the S. Cool. Cool. Alrighty. And again, two ways, actually 3 ways to do it. So you can either use your edible markers, you can use a light pencil, or you can just use markings from the back of a paintbrush or a sharp tool so you can kind of see the thickness of your letters and know exactly where you're writing at. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, so you don't have to use the pencil, and sometimes you don't even have to make the markings. It just becomes easy for you after a while. So just keep practicing. I would say if you want to practice on fondant, roll out a piece of fondant and just practice on it. Because, and I say practice on fondant because of how soft it is. You'll see what you're working with and how you can erase your letters. I'm totally looking at the camera like you guys can see me, and you can only see my hands. All right, this is so hard to do. Okay, I'm gonna come around on the other side and see if I can paint this from the other side so that way you guys can look over my shoulder. How about that? Okay, let's see. Can I make this happen? I'm gonna pull you guys here, pull you guys down. There we go. I want you guys to be able to see what I see. Okay, and pull you guys up. There. I have my paint. And I can see you guys if you're making any comments or suggestions. Okay, if you guys want to see me just do it freehand without the actual pencil, you let me know. Alrighty. It's now the way that I hold this, it may be look a little weird, but only because I have to hold up against something. To steady my hand. And if I mess up, again, just use the Everclear. I was saying yesterday that there is sorry, I stopped talking because this isn't my go-to paintbrush and it's a little too thick. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Yeah, there we go. There, now I have my flow. You see how like scattered that looks? It's because the cake was so low down. So this is much better for me to hold it. I don't know why I'm using blue. I've never used this blue before, but I thought it would be really pretty. And I don't want much on my paintbrush. so quiet in here, I can like hear a pin drop. But I don't want to talk and mess up any more than I already did. And on the messed up parts, I want to show you guys how we can get rid of it and then how we can kind of hide it. Okay. Alrighty, so we're gonna go back and I'm pouring some Everclear in my palette just to clean up the Mary part up here because the R's are looking a little bit strong. Oh, I just poured that all on the table. If you've never used Everclear before, it's an alcohol. It's a grain alcohol. It's really super strong. It's what is this? What proof is this? Distilled from 100%. No. We're looking for the proof. I honestly can't find it. But it's oh, here it is. I'm right in front of my face. 95% alcohol by volume, 190 proof. That's a very high alcoholic proof. So you want to be careful not to drink it. But it does wonders for your cakes. I mean, I know there are some people who actually do drink it. So I just poured some in my palette, and I'm using my paintbrush as an eraser. Just kind of scraping it gently, not to like smudge it all over the place. And it slowly starts to come off. 1000% proof. Yeah, it's strong, child. I would not drink it. I know my best friend, she drank it in college. So she drank it with something. No, never again. Back in the 2000s, look, she's telling her story already. Never again. So you see how it's coming off? Now, the reason why I like using Everclear is because it dries fast. You don't have this wet spot just lingering. It's literally like, what is that stuff? Peroxide, like the peroxide you put on yourself. All right, I don't want to do any more because it's running down to my S, and then I'm going to have to fix that. But I do want to fix that. Okay. Yeah, I do want to fix it. That's okay. We're going to move on. I don't want to keep rubbing it and then ruin the rest of my letters. All right, so now let's put the weight on it. And just very slowly, I'm going to the spots that need the thickest part. And take your time. You're going to want to rush through this. Like the way my hand is shaking right now, I just want to write it. But I'm going to take my time.
Jello shots. Oh, Jesus. I hate Jello shots. I don't know how any. Ugh, hate them. Not what Jello should taste like. And then to put Everclear in it. Oh, Jesus. Just ruin your whole night, child. Actually, I want to bring this M down more. I probably should have lifted it up and turned it that way. I was going on my drawing, not thinking how I'm not writing the rest of the letters, so it doesn't make sense for it to curve like that. This is probably the hardest position to work on a cake like this. Because you want to be careful that you're not leaning on the cake and denting it. You know, with the canvas, you can. It's not going to dent. You got to be careful, make purposeful strokes, or you're going to have to go back and fix it, which happens. It happens more times than none. Has anybody ever done handwriting on a cake? You know, as I look on the screen, it looks cute. In person, not so much. I'm not a fan of it, and I really want to just do it over. We are our own worst critics. I really do want to just do it over. I just want, yes, and I hate writing on a cake. Yeah, me too. I absolutely despise it. I wish there was a way that they could make paintbrushes. Anybody out there willing to become an inventor, I'd purchase it from you. Make a paintbrush tip, but actually have the paint in it. And they do have something like that, but the tips are too thick. They're not thin like this. So if somebody can make a paintbrush with already the paint inside of it, and this would be easy. So I could stop dipping, that's one. And make things a little more easier so I don't have to keep stopping in between to dip my paintbrush. And then also I think it'd be cool to have those like as some tools. Let me dot the I. All right, so let me criticize myself. Some of the weight is off. I mean, it does look really nice on camera. Like I'm looking on camera, it looks really nice, but some of this weight is off and some of the blue seeped down because I was cleaning off the R. So it'd probably have been better for me to just first write the Mary on top. And if I made a mistake, I can clean it off because if the ink ran down, that's okay because I didn't write the S yet. And instead I had wrote Mary and then Christmas all together. Just take it word by word. That's one. Two, I wish I just kind of tilted this up just a little bit. It's just a little too far down to the bottom of the cake. So twisted it up just a little bit. That's the second thing. Again, I did say some of the weight is off, like on the M, it's a little thick here, and the E, so that kind of drives me insane. So that is me tracing over the pencil, right? So that's the pencil that I drew on my white fondant. I'm actually going to now try this because I feel like I have something to prove without. Oh, the back of this cake is just as ugly. Lord have mercy. I'm going to do it without actually tracing over anything. Clean off my paintbrush. Let's use a different color. Let's use red because, you know, that's not predictable. Oh, do they have a pink? How about pink? Oh, before I do this, let me show you guys. I'll show you guys what it looks like to use an edible marker on fondant. Let's turn this. Right, okay. So if I was to write Mary. So see, you can do light drawing on it. Excuse me. I'm just kind of not trying to touch the cake as much. So it'll be. See, it's always the drop downs, like right there, that get stuck in it, indented in the cake. So using edible marker on the cake is definitely an option. I just don't really like it as much because I like to be able to see if there is pencil mark, I can get rid of that really easy without having the smudges of the actual edible ink. So that's the only reason I don't really like using it. The other reason is because when you use it, even though it's a fine point, I don't know if you guys saw you see how dark it is right here? Right here, the tip got stuck in the fondant. Like it dented it in. So that's the other reason that I don't really like messing with this thing. All right, so now let's just try the word Christmas without all the Mary. Oh, wrong paintbrush. And I'm gonna do it in a hot pink color. If you guys wanna know what color, so yeah, edible art, this is the pink, and here's the blue. I was using, it's called Sailor Blue, Edible Art Sailor Blue. You can find this, I think the website's called, what is this website called? I'm sure if you just do Google search edible art, this will come up. Or sweetsticks.com, I think also. Hashtag not sponsored or anything like that. It's just I really do like their product. I don't really care. I do care about sponsorship, but I don't really care as much when I really actually like the product. Okay, so now I'm just going to freehand. Oh, how do you spell Christmas? Shit. I've already spelled it wrong. I've already spelled it wrong. CHR. I love how I start with like this long word. I mean, this long phrase, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. And now I'm just down to the word Christmas. See, now that I've got all my jitters out, my hand isn't shaking as much anymore. Just needed to screw up a couple of times. So, now that you guys have watched me do this, would you now start doing more handwriting on cakes? Because let me tell you something. I have like every letter cutter out there. There's nothing like putting your own flair on it. I wish I didn't put the R and the I so far from each other. See, I can rip apart everything I do. I might practice on my birthday cake next month. You get it, girl? You know, when you put your headphones on, you put Netflix on, it's actually very relaxing. You know? And I think because of the holidays coming up, I find this to be like such a great time for people to actually handwrite on cakes. You know, because nothing says Christmas like handwritten little like, you know, like to and froms, you know, on the gifts. Oh, my legs. I'm sitting on this stool. My legs are literally falling asleep. Okay, I had to get up. Sorry. I really like this pink too. It's really pretty. Ah, my legs are, the blood is going down and now they're all feeling fuzzy. Love it. Love it. I'm gonna get rid of this. Trey, can you get the palette from Cake Art? Can I get the Trey remembering that's my godson Trey. Can I get the palette from Cake Art? You can get the palette from Michael's Arts and Craft. They sell it in any art store also. The paint you cannot get from Cake Art if that's what you're asking. The paint, I don't think sells edible art. Nicholas Lodge's store sold it, but they closed down, and now they're only just a cake studio teaching cake here in Georgia. So, but you can get the paint on Amazon. What did I just see that I wanted to fix? I have no idea. So look, we've come down to Christmas. We started with Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. So now we're just at Christmas. Which now that we've come back to the Merry Christmas part here, I actually kind of like it. It looks really cute. It does look really cute. All right, I'm going to lift you guys back up again. So that way you guys can see me. There we go. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Whew. That was pretty easy. Well, it's time consuming, but it was pretty easy. Put this here so you guys can see. Oh, Trey, why don't you just write out the words? The paint brushes you can get at any art supply store too. I get my paint brushes at the art supply store. I don't get them at a cake store. You put the word cake in front of anything and it becomes more expensive. So go to Home Depot, go to art supply stores. Maybe because I can't afford those fancy impression letters things. Yeah, so this is the thing. I teach a lot of different, sorry, my forehead's kind of shiny. I'm just now seeing myself on the camera. I teach a lot of ways to do things the hard way, but also with some easy shortcuts in between. Because at the end of the day, I started out doing cake 13 years ago, and I didn't even own a circle cutter. And I used my mom's kitchen cups, the cups to cut out circles and things like that. So everything I do freehand. Once I started making money, I started purchasing all the supplies and tools that I could possibly need. But I've since got rid of so much stuff, and now if you just give me circle cutters, I can probably make you anything, because that's how much I start from scratch in that way. Even though I'm a baker who doesn't bake in scratch all the time, as far as like the creating process, I start from scratch. Like I don't
really like having pre-made things, because that to me is the art part, and the fun part of it is making it myself, seeing that I wrote that. That's my cake. So that's one reason why I actually do a lot of things just by hand. And the second thing is that, yeah, so, if you're a baker, you became a baker not because you were trying to become rich, because no one ever became rich being a baker. And if you see those people on TV who like have their own TV shows, they're not making money because they're a bakery. They're making money because now they're on TV. There's a difference. So you're not here to become rich. And at the end of the day, purchasing all the new gadgets out there, which I think those stamps are really pretty, really cute, and it's a really nice thing that they created for people who aren't able to either, handwrite it or vision that themselves, which I think is great. But this is a very cost-effective way for you to be able to do it, because I mean, at this point, you don't have to use the edible art paint. I like their paint because it dries, right? So in about maybe 30 minutes or so, this is going to be dry to the point where it's not going to come on my fingers. But you can also use the food gel coloring and handwrite on it. Who doesn't have that in cake decorating now? Like, you have some sort of edible paint on hand to color your fondant. So these are just ways to make it easier for someone who doesn't want to spend the money, and then also who actually wants to learn an artistic, there's a word I want to say, technique. There we go. An artistic technique to carry on throughout the rest of their cakes. So yeah, I hope you do use this. Who said that? You Southern Homegirl. I hope you do use this, and hopefully it becomes helpful for you. And if you see how it actually really is quite simple once you just start getting your hand stroke in it. Like, you saw how when I was first starting out, my hand was shaking because first, I haven't done a cake in a while. That's one. Second, I haven't held a paintbrush upright in a while also. But once you start getting the hang of that, your hand just starts to flow, and writing it in your own font or your own writing is actually kind of pretty, I think. So, anyways, that was it for tonight, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on live. I'm actually supposed to be live again at the end of the month. I think the day after Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. I don't know if I put, like, it's supposed to be another Fake It With Me. I can't remember. And then I think I'm supposed to be, which I think that's Black Friday. I think I'm supposed to be live again on Black Friday and then the day after Black Friday. So I'm going to be coming with some different and new techniques for you guys, and in between, obviously, dropping some new tutorials for you. I really do appreciate you guys coming and joining me on my lives. I know they can either be a disaster like last night, which was kind of fun, or it can be like nice and chill like tonight. You never know what you're going to get with me. And then I just want to make sure you guys are following me on Instagram at Jelena Simpson on Instagram, and the link in my bio leads you to everything else that I do, including the podcast with me and my best friend, where we are out there talking mad shiznitzel. And yeah, you guys might want to check that out. It's called Not Your Mama, and we're on every podcast platform, the big ones and even the itty bitty small ones. So I appreciate you guys. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. When I do the real cake, I'm going to post that also, and I'll post a little video of me actually writing Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal out, and so you guys can see how that looks on the cake. It'll be really cute. I just thought of that. Oh, I think I know what I'm going to turn it into. So yeah, so I appreciate you guys. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell, and it would do me a favor if you guys hit the like button, because by hitting the like button, it actually helps me out with the algorithm of now more people like this video, and now more it's going to show on other people's feeds, not to mention on any other videos. Make sure you guys check out yesterday's Fake It With Me, where I made my cake, and then check out the Instagram post that I posted tonight, where you see me actually cutting into that cake and adding the finishing touches. So appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Oh, Trey, I see you saying something. Sorry, Trey. This is complicated and very interesting. Thank you, Trey. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.